Yes, folks, it's Thursday. It's 2 p.m. Pacific. I'm Fred McMurray, which means after checking everything, it looks like we're good to go. This is...
Welcome back to another episode of Pillars of Franchising.
Live Thursdays, 5 p.m. Eastern. Bigger!
Howdy, man.
Hi, Fred. How are you?
I couldn't find my other hat, so we went with everyone's favorite Viking hat.
Yes. I mean, I'm not sure what that's going to have to do with 4th of July exactly, but then, I mean, it doesn't really matter, I suppose.
So Leif Erikson was the first person allegedly to hit the North America way before Columbus or anybody else. So therefore, without Leif Erikson, the Vikings' contribution, there would be no 4th of July.
I so knew you would have an answer to that. I just knew it.
Hey, if I don't have one, then my network does. I think that's what I say. So, what's been happening in the franchising world lately?
Oh my gosh, I feel like what's not been happening in the franchising world lately. As you know, we've got several people that we're working with at different stages of the game in terms of franchising. Some that we're helping turn their businesses into franchising, some that we're helping buy a franchise, some that we're in the middle of going through FDDs and trying to get them up to speed so that they feel comfortable buying a franchise. And so we're kind of all staying really busy. And of course, we've got a nice big list here for guests that are joining us, not only today, but in several episodes coming up here. I think we're booked all the way now through almost to September. So it's going to be a busy few weeks.
Amen to that. Some big news today. Allegedly, and our technical producer has not yet confirmed this, but allegedly we're actually broadcasting live out on our first internet radio shoutcast server. Woo.
Nice.
Which, as that eventually we'll be able to register for our own internet radio, name. So I don't know, K Pillar or K Ray or K Fred.
Well, I don't know. You got to give me at least 24 hours to come up with something creative. And when I come up with it, it'll depend on how much David laughs, whether or not we go with it.
All right, I'm fine with that. And also, allegedly, for the first time, LinkedIn is allowing us to broadcast live on LinkedIn. So there's a whole new audience there.
Awesome. I heard that rumor.
I heard that. Interesting. I'm being told we got some audio issues. Interesting. So.
Oh, well, that's never good.
That's never good. And I have no clue why we wouldn't. So,
well, we can have David dance. Ray, you can sing.
I don't think we have any audio. Well, I don't hear any audio issues. It seems to be coming through fine through Zoom anyway.
Oh.
But I was thinking of a name. How about WKRP?
No, that's been done before. That's been done before. So yeah, no. So
I'm sure we could come up with something.
I am too. Also, rumor has it is that there's at least one new potential franchisor that you're going to be helping out grow.
Yes, I've heard that as well, and it makes me think of coffee.
It does. Me too. So, oh well. Anything else new?
Cleaning products and coffee, that's the specialty, right?
Yep.
Amen to that. Amen to that. Need to get some
I can tell you, I
food
just
in there.
got my notification that we're streaming on Twitch right now. So that's good.
We are.
That's exciting. I don't know that that's enough to get my son off of his video game watching, but it's interesting and good to know that I got that. And certainly LinkedIn does indeed tell us that we are live. So I don't know which one's not listening or the audio's not working, Fred, but it looks okay for now.
All right, so we'll leave it at that point. Shall we bring in our guest and let people see Ray's cool hat?
I think we should. There's no time like the present.
Yeah.
Yay! Welcome.
Hi, how are you all?
Hi. And then there's Ray. He's out in the wagon, out in the bus,
In the bus.
out in the coach, right?
In South Dakota, in Spearfish, and
Nice.
I am at the Elkhorn Ridge Resort. It's beautiful out here. Unfortunately, it's a Kristin weather. It's 96 degrees, but there is a breeze. It's sweltering hot, but still,
Uh-huh.
it's nice. It's nice to be out.
Good. Good. I'm glad you didn't go to the snow.
Yeah.
Well, he
And our-
always does
This
anyways.
this is a winter resort as well for skiing. So
Okay.
So
Excellent.
it's a good thing we got mountains in the background then.
yes.
Excellent. And I'll just briefly tell you who we're going to be talking to today. Her name is Lauren Coulter. Did I say that right, Lauren?
Yes, that's perfect.
Excellent. And she is a franchisor with Biscuit Belly. Now, I have to tell you, I did not have lunch today, so it's sounding really good. But before we get into your interview, can you tell us where you are and what the weather's like today?
Yeah, well, I'm in Louisville, Kentucky, and it's been pretty sweltering hot here the last couple of weeks, but today it's raining a lot. And so it's good. Our grass needs it. We need some free water up in here, but yeah, it's going to be clear all weekend, I think, and beautiful.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, good. Well, welcome to the show.
Thanks.
And Fred, you want me to talk about everybody else that's here and they can tell about their weather?
Well, they won't be seen on camera, but go ahead, poll the rest of our studio.
All righty then. David, where are you
Yes.
today?
I'm still in Cleveland, out staying here throughout the early fall. 70, about mid 70s right here. It's been sunny and cloudy, but right now it's sunny, so pretty pleased about that. The weekend looks to be pretty good.
Excellent.
And as long as the rain holds off and the storms hold off, it'll be a great weekend.
Awesome. We'll all be at your house on Sunday
There
then.
you go.
and a returning guest for us today who's going to give us some tips later on the show, Miss Karen Kimsey-Sward from Dale Carnegie. Hi, Karen.
Hello there.
How are you?
Good. It looks sunny from my window. I haven't been outside since 7 a.m., but I think it's a little cooler and beautiful here. We've had all kind of continuous rain. Same with you in Louisville, right? But yes, but it's sunny today.
Awesome. Glad to have you with us.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Glad to be here.
Well, let's get started. So as I mentioned, our guest today is Lauren Coulter. And this is a crazy fact that you are a pharmacist turned restaurateur.
Yeah. So both my husband and I are both pharmacists on paper. Neither of us are now practicing. So a lot of time and energy and money is, I'm not going to say it's wasted. It set us up to be able to do this. So
Right.
where my head is. So, but yeah, we were, graduated from pharmacy school and moved to Louisville, and we're young and, pharmacists, we were making decent money and just thought, oh, we should do something on the side, something for fun. And we opened up Louisville's first paint and drink concept. I'm sure y'all have seen these.
I participated.
Yeah, like Pinot's Palette. There's a variety of them now. And we're just the first of its kind here in Louisville, and it went really well and kind of took off. We opened a second store, but we realized early on that it was probably going to be a fad. There's only so many fleur-de-lis that people in this city need to hang in their house.
I did like an ocean with swimming paint or something, that was kind of our thing. I didn't have to draw anything, right? You just dump it and tilt the canvas.
Oh, yeah. Ours, the teacher, walked you through it start to finish. But I mean, we would pack, 90, 100 people in there on a Friday night, Saturday night, Sunday. It was crazy. We had no expectation that it would do that well, but we started noticing that people were coming in to drink our kind of crappy wine. And so we decided, we kind of looked around, and in Louisville, it's big bourbonism, bourbon tourism is huge here. And so we looked around, saw a lot of bourbon, saw a lot of craft beer, didn't really find places that were wine approachable, like fun, easy, chill places to have a glass of wine.
Right.
And so we opened up a full service restaurant called Lubino with, I mean, literally our first days, both of us working in a restaurant were like my husband on dish and me, cleaning wine glasses. So it went really well. We opened up a total of 5 of those locations, but full service, we had 60, 70 wines by the glass, another 20 or 30 by the bottle. And full service evening style restaurant just was a lot. And so we decided to change it up a little bit and open up a breakfast concept. So
awesome.
That's how we came about doing Biscuit Belly. Biscuit Belly is very much kind of a throw to how we grew up with biscuits, at like the 7-Eleven on the corners, and people very are passionate about their biscuits. One of my best friend growing up, her grandma would make fresh biscuits every single morning. And so kind of a throw to that in some of our favorite places and locations in our hometown. And so opened up Biscuit Belly, did really well, opened up the second one. And we really quickly realized that this had legs, that we could really do something special with this. And just really changed our perspective a bit on growth. With Lubino, it was very much like, okay, what kind of cash in the bank do we have now? You want to do another one? You want to try it? Okay, let's just see. And with Biscuit Belly, we're being incredibly intentional about our growth strategy, really partnering with the right people, we believe. And we ultimately sold Lubino in December in a pandemic, so that we could focus, 150%. And I know you all are the experts on here, but starting a franchise the right way, I believe the right way, takes so much time and energy and work and resources and just so many decisions. And
absolutely,
I think where we've kind of leveled up a bit is that we went into this again intentional. And so from our legal documents to marketing materials, I mean, people that are coming in to have discovery days or visit with us are people who are used to being in the restaurant space, and they're very surprised at how far along in a way we are, despite being so small. So
and so new, right? Because really this Biscuit Belly took off in 2019. Am I right on that?
Oh yeah, we opened up our first store in 2019, our second one in 2019, and then we're working towards a third one when the pandemic happened. We did go ahead and open it. And then we have our fourth store opening in about 2 weeks in Evansville, Indiana. So
which one is it? Evansville that I just saw that's going to have the drive-through?
Yep. Yeah. So we obviously, with COVID before, last March 16th, when everything got shut down, I would have told you no, we're not doing takeout. We're not doing takeout. We're not doing any of that. We couldn't even, we wanted to service the people here in the store. And literally our takeout percentage was 0.2%. Our paper and plastic was minuscule dollars. And then COVID. We are continuing to, we're back, at kind of our 2019 numbers. And we're continuing though, we're curious to see if this takeout, which one of our stores still has 27% takeout. Our other two are right around 20. And so, we're curious to see how that impacts the bottom line. Are those unique, people who maybe started that and they're going to continue eating at home a little bit more? Or, are we going to be able to add that to our top line sales? So yeah, Evansville, we're having a drive-through. It's going to be more of a, we got to come up with a cute name, like a Biscuit Express lane or something like that. Where, if you've called, if you've ordered on our app and you want to get this big Rockwell Supreme and take it home, you can drive through our drive-through and pick it up. But if you want more of a grab and go style, bacon and cheese, sausage, egg and cheese, those are the things you're really going to be able to order while you're waiting in line.
Get the belly up, so to speak. Right?
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. Well, that brings us to a great point, because when I first heard about you and that you were coming on the show, I'm like, Biscuit Belly. And it took me a minute because I'm not from the South. And so, my dad also is not from the South, but loves biscuits and gravy anywhere he can get them. And so I thought, now where did you come up with that name?
You know, we, again, back to kind of the intentionality piece. I mean, once we decided that we wanted to do this, we wanted our branding to be on point, our name to be on point. We had all of these, you know, decisions that we made, and it was so different from our previous experience where we're just kind of like sitting around our house with a glass of wine saying like, oh, we should call it this, or we should call it that. Oh, that one sounds good, and just kind of went for it. So we worked with a team who does a lot of like branding, and you know, they helped, I think, elevate our overall look in terms of like helping figure out, you know, color and aesthetic. And the name Biscuit Belly, I'll be honest, I was kind of not in love with the name at first, but I don't know, it kind of grew on me. And then people love, you know, to be like, oh, I'm so stuffed. Oh, you know, and you always say like taco belly or burrito belly or Buddha belly.
Now you're like, I got a biscuit in my belly.
Yes, exactly. So it's just kind of a fun thing, kind of rolls off the tongue. And
awesome. Well, it is super cute. And I did take a look at that. You had some pictures posted of the inside of the store as it was being decorated, I'll say, on the inside. It looked very cute. And I'm super excited that you were able, in the process of franchising your business, you were able to pivot, and there's that favorite word again, right? And build a drive-through. So it'll be very interesting to see, based on the build sites you have, based on the area that you go into, because some lend themselves nicely to drive-throughs and some not so much. But it'll be really curious to watch and see what that does to your sales. So
yeah, we're excited too. And I mean, a lot of companies are really leaning into a smaller footprint, you know, and I get all the reasons people want to do that. You know, you save dollars, and but for us, when you're coming in, you're buying this big $13 biscuit, and you want, you know, what we're trying to create is an experience. And so people are coming in, they're waiting in line sometimes for, you know, 30, 45 minutes to get their breakfast. And then they sit down and they're in and out in 20, 25 minutes. For that 25 minutes, we want them to be like, this is the best breakfast experience they're going to have. You know, families coming together, reminding them of maybe, like you were talking about your dad, things that, you know, have that emotional connection of being tied to food. You know, so many memories, and I mean, so many things are, I think, decisions and important discussions are had around a table, right, with your family, and you're eating. And breakfast is one that families typically have together, even if they eat out with friends or other people at night. You know, breakfast is usually a communal family thing. And so that's what we are really driving towards. So we are not shrinking our footprint. You know, we're honing in on the 80, 90 seats. That's kind of what we need to do our human Tetris on the weekends of like getting people out and getting people in.
Well, I know there's a partner of mine here on the screen that loves breakfast and lunch and dinner, and we're often interrupted by, oh, time to go eat, right, Ray?
Yes. It's interesting that I was talking to Kristin just before the show, and when she mentioned the name of your restaurant, the first thing I came up was another restaurant which has a tagline. It's called Lambert's Cafe. I don't know if you've ever heard of it.
No.
But their tagline is "Home of the Throwed Rolls," and they're in Sikeston, Missouri.
Okay.
It's interesting. I visited there at least one time, maybe twice. But every time you go there, there's someone comes out and throws rolls at you.
Well, we don't throw any biscuits or bellies at you. We don't have enough biscuits extra to
like that's a terrible idea for me. I would have like butter all over my face, you know. Terrible idea for me, but
I thought it was kind of interesting when they came out with pies. I said, "Oh no!"
Yeah, careful.
But they kind of pretend throw the pie that you, you know. But it was a great hook, so to speak, because I was trying to think of the name of the restaurant and I couldn't, so I just Googled it just before the show, and it came right up as soon as I typed in "Home of the Throwed Rolls." And I think,
oh my goodness.
Yeah, I think they have several restaurants now, but they're not franchised. So yeah, it's food is an exciting thing, as I'm sure David would tell you if he's going
Right.
to. I don't know if you're going to speak on this or not, David.
Well,
but
his mouth is probably watering right now. He's probably running to the kitchen because he doesn't have to be on camera yet. But I did want to talk a little bit about your franchise because I noticed that you have some really aggressive growth plans.
yes.
So tell us, kind of where you are in terms of meeting those goals right now.
Yeah.
Are you on track? What does that look like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. Yes, they are aggressive in one sense. I mean, my husband is the epitome of the visionary, the go-getter, the like go, 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 go. Oh, so many ideas. I'm the integrator in our group with y'all do EOS, and I'm funneling those ideas to, no, we can only do these things. But I feel like the goals that we, for 2021, for instance, we are really we're not looking to do 1 million deals this year. We're looking to do 3 to 5 deals, each doing 3 to 5 stores. We've done 2 of those and have now 10 franchise stores in development through those 2 deals. So I feel like we are well on track. And I think too, we would rather do it the right way, which I think is also evidenced by all the work we put into this going into everything.
Mm-hmm.
We'd rather do it the right way and take it a little slow than to just be like throwing spaghetti at the wall, and just seeing what happens. I mean, again, everything that we've done is very intentional. And so, we are partnering. We've been really blessed that our first 2 groups, the first group is a legacy KFC franchisee. They've got 30 KFCs, 10 Long John Silvers. The second group is in probably 10 or 12 different franchise organizations, many of those restaurant related. They love working with early stage franchisors. And that's really the most important thing to me, is that during this time that we are capturing people who are okay with working with an early stage group, because we want to learn from them. They have 10 different brands. Surely they have the perfect way of doing, a couple of these things. So rather than me sitting at home and saying like, I wonder what would be the most effective way, it's nice. I can call them and be like, what's worked? What hasn't worked? Here's what I was thinking.
Right.
Very able to like bounce ideas off. And that's really been key, I think, in what's made our experience good for these folks so far. So while it's aggressive in one sense, I think that it's smart. And, we're really targeting people who are experts, who are in the restaurant game, who know what they're doing. We don't necessarily want Biscuit Belly to be somebody's first experience opening a restaurant.
That was going to be my question, is because obviously we have several people out there that are looking, thinking, oh, this would be a great place to start. But you're really looking for more multi-unit, experienced, kind of already corporations that are buying up multi-unit, other experienced franchises. Is that correct? Like other QSR models?
Ideally at this point, I mean, we know that I should say too, our partner is Chuck Schnatter, who, was very involved in Papa John's from the time it was like, store 8 to store 4,000. He's had a million, different roles there. And he has been very, just hounding us on how important it is to get the right people. He's like, you have to get the right people. This is a marriage. This is not a date. And so I think that having that mindset of, he's like, people will be willing to write you checks. Do not take the checks, just, you want to get the right people in. That the earliest, us doing that now is really going to be key in the success, I think, of our brand in 4 years, 5 years. And I'm super pumped because the first 2 groups we brought on, anytime that like people, the franchise community is small and people would say, oh, I heard y'all got the Schaffners and they're awesome. And oh my gosh, I'm so excited for you. Oh, you've got Power Brands. They're amazing to their employees. They're amazing. That just speaks volumes to me. And I hope that it also says things to, people who are potentially interested about the quality of person that we're trying to bring on.
Okay. So do you have a minimum number of units that you're asking these to take on?
I mean, we're trying to be a little, ideally in an area that could support it, 3 to 5 units, but we aren't, some of these groups are doing like, the Alabama group is doing Birmingham and Huntsville because that's where they already have a solid footprint. We don't want, Biscuit Belly, we know is an experience and a destination. We know this isn't going to be a Papa John's where you can put one, every 2 blocks.
Right.
So we don't want to oversaturate a market by any stretch, but, I think ideally people who could partner with us and go into a new market and develop that market is probably the most important thing. I'm not set 100 on, 3 to 5 stores. If the area can only support 2, I'm going to do 2 because it makes the most sense. But just really trying to be smart, from that perspective.
Interesting. Ray, you going to take the bus to Biscuit Belly now?
Oh, sure.
Come on, Ray.
Yeah.
For you, I will throw a biscuit. No, I'm just kidding.
With gravy on it.
Maybe on the way down to the convention in Florida.
There you go.
Yeah.
Got to go right through there.
Yeah.
Well, that's excellent. That's very exciting. When we have to take a commercial break. When we come back, I'd like to hear some more about what it costs to invest in your brand. And, obviously we have the upfront costs, and then we have, what kind of money you have not only to buy the franchise, but what kind of net worth folks have to invest in it, and talk about some finer details.
Okay. Sounds good.
All right. Take us away, Fred.
I will. First, an apology to those trying to watch on LinkedIn. You can hear us on LinkedIn, but you can't see us because we're actually broadcasting in higher quality than LinkedIn video can handle. Ooh, isn't that cool? And here we go.
Hey, franchise owners. How's your local marketing? Do you feel like you could use some help keeping up with your social media posts and comments and reviews? Do you wonder if you could be doing more to attract local customers? Are you able to identify new move-ins to your local area? At Westvine, we help franchisees like you reach more local customers through digital marketing. With daily monitoring, creative content, and ad placement, and customer data intelligence, we'll get your business in front of the people who want your products or services. We also work with franchisors who need an agency to handle the digital marketing for all of their locations. If you're ready to reach more local customers, give us a call at 805-265-5440 or visit us at westvine.com. That's 805-265-5440 or westvine.com.
And we're back. Awesome. So Lauren, let's get down to brass tacks. Can you tell us a little bit about what you're looking for? Obviously, we heard a little bit about your ideal candidate, so that's good. Tell us about your franchise fees, maybe what that includes, and as well what you expect in terms of, people to have beyond that in terms of network.
Sure. So the franchise fee is $30,000 for the first 2 stores, and then goes down to $25,000, I believe, after that. It says that we require a $300,000 cash available, and then $600,000 net worth. The range for our stores to open, without any TI, without any work letter from the landlord, as if our lawyers require us to be very conservative on this. So it can range anywhere from $670,000 to mid 900,000s to open up a Biscuit Belly, assuming a cold dark shell and no TI dollars. So that does include, obviously the fee. It includes things like a secondary, having to buy an alcohol permit on the secondary market, which we know happens in some places, 3 months rent. So we try to be as robust as possible. And then, that's kind of our starting points, I guess you would say. Our spaces themselves are pretty stunning. I wish that I could take you and show you around. But my husband, loves incredible tile, and my joke on LinkedIn this week was, the herringbone. Chad Coulter was your herringbone.
And you got a lot of comments on that herringbone too.
Because people, I'm telling you, he is obnoxiously good at design, and it just looks stunning. And so when people come in, I think, the white subway tile, the blues are supposed to be calming. The yellows are supposed to be spirited and fun. And I think just the combination works really well.
It's so crazy. I feel like you both missed your calling when you went to pharmacy school, right?
I know, for sure. I'm going to tell my mom you said that.
Yeah. Well, that's what happens, right? I'm getting ready to send one to college, and you send them thinking, they've got this goal, they're going to do this thing. And then, 10, 15, 20 years later, that's not at all where they land.
I know. And I mean, I'm all about like the kids going to school, doing what they need, do the right, if that's what you want to do, but that there are other pathways for people, and, ones that you don't have to go $160,000 in debt for. That'd be nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, even just in like the development and training of our people, that's been so important to me, is to just show some of them, look at the opportunity, that could be available to you, and that the return that you could get if you would be allowed to invest some of that time and money into yourself. So
yeah, absolutely. And we know that we've got a lot of people coming out of corporate America here right now and in the very near future who've decided to kind of take their futures into their own hands. And so obviously they're always looking for good businesses. And that's why we want to showcase, franchises like yours that are new to the market, so they have an opportunity to see what's going on out there. So
awesome.
That's really good. Ray, did you have any follow-ups on that?
No, go right ahead. I'm enjoying the show.
Excellent. So Lauren, is there anything else that you think that we or your listeners need to know? Maybe how to contact you?
Yeah. I mean, literally the phone number on our website is my number. So people, it's funny, with an early stage franchisor, they call and they're like, can I speak to the head of your real estate department? I'm like, well, that's me. And then can I speak to the head of your,
franchise development?
Exactly. That's me. I don't have on paper, a degree or anything in sales, but it's easy to sell something that you love and are passionate about. So yes, have people check out our website, biscuitbellyfranchising.com. You fill out a form, it comes directly to my cell phone. You call the number that's listed, it calls me. So
awesome. Well, I'm glad I didn't test that out last night, because I was looking at all the Biscuit Belly stuff, and I'll tell you, you have good paid placement, because when I put in Biscuit Belly, like the first 2 pages was all about Biscuit Belly.
Good. Okay, good.
So that's great. Well, we are obviously going to have all your contact information on our website. So if people didn't catch your information, or how to get you on LinkedIn or the home website for Biscuit Belly, they certainly can find it for us. And we so appreciate your time today. And I'm so excited to see how you do with your growth plans.
Thanks.
And as I said, my husband and son are heading your way next weekend for a baseball tournament. Right. So I'm giving them homework. Their homework is to go to Biscuit Belly.
Good. Yeah. Hit me up. Tell them to text me.
I will.
Sure. Good. Okay, great.
All right. Well, thank you so much for being on. We really appreciate it. Have a great day.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you for coming on.
The Franchise Woman is a bi-monthly digital magazine that empowers women as they navigate the franchising industry by providing relevant news, tools, advice, and inspiration. We are a resource for women who are seeking to own their own businesses, improve their existing businesses, find creative solutions, and take advantage of franchise opportunities. We feature women in the business who best exemplify our ideals and have something to teach our readers. In addition to our exclusive articles relating to the female entrepreneur, we also feature brands that are geared for women. Women have become the fastest growing sector in business ownership and have become a powerful, influenceable force fueling the economy. The Franchise Woman will give you the news that is relevant to you to help you navigate the path of successful franchise ownership. By women, for women, and about women. We are the Franchise Woman. Join us today at www.thefranchisewoman.com.
I just love Elizabeth Denham. She does a great commercial. And joining us now is my next favorite person when it comes to all things employee related, whether it's leadership or it's hiring and retaining, Miss Karen Kimsey-Sward. I see you're still on mute. There you are.
Yes. Hello.
Hi. Well, we asked you on the show today, and you and I have been talking a lot about the big drain on small business and franchises and trying to get and keep employees these days. So what have you got for us today? What are some of the things you want to tell us about today?
Yeah, it's every business I speak with, small business, medium-sized business. It's that, right? It's the whole of how can I get good people? how can I attract people? And also, how can I retain people? I was reading a recent article and they're talking about the turnover tsunami that's expected. I think there's research done.
Yep.
And I think it was like, anywhere from like 25 to 50% of people that were surveyed were saying, I'm going to change jobs. And so that's
Wow.
pretty scary, especially for us small businesses.
Yeah.
Because it's a lot of money, right? It's a lot of money to actually hire people and get them up to speed, and then for them to leave, and then you've got to start all over again.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was talking last week that we were on vacation in Tennessee for a different baseball tournament, and I was shocked at how many franchise restaurants and mom and pop restaurants had to close early because they just didn't have the help.
Right.
And I think the great,
right. Go ahead. They have signs that say, "Be patient with us," right? Because we don't have the staff.
Yeah. And I think it's done a lot to teach us all patience, because I am not particularly a patient person. If I am going into something like a restaurant where I used to work, right? I understand what service is supposed to be. And when you're not getting that, you kind of get a little bit crazy, or you're used to going into a store of retail again, where I used to grow up, right? And then I'm like, what do you mean I can't get any service? And no, I don't want to go through this robot to check out, right? So it's been challenging, I think, for all of us. So what are some of the secrets that you have for us?
Well, just, a few tips that seem like, okay, well, that's understandable. That's pretty basic. Yet at the same time, we've all been in this past year and a half. Most of us have been in the, how do we just this crisis? We're going through this crisis, right? And so we're on this wheel of, oh my gosh, we've got this crisis. How do we survive it? And as we're coming out of the survival, right? We've survived it. And now it's, how do we get back on track and not feel like we're always on that rat wheel, and to stop for a second. And I think really it's back and say, okay, let's think about, as we're trying to track these people, several key things to keep in mind to make sure we can get the right people. You were talking about, even like when you go to the store, I'm impatient too. And when I go to the store, and if I can't get someone to wait on me, especially for some reason, like department stores and everything, I'm like, where's someone to So I think it's the balance too, is because we will buy more, we will do more, right? It's a good experience for the customer. So one of the key things I think is making sure, even though we're all in the, I've got to get people on board, it is to take a breath and make sure that we have the right people on board.
Yeah.
That's the thing where I think a lot of people are like, okay, I've got to get people on board, and they keep hiring and not stopping and saying, okay, I need the right people.
Yeah.
The right people to share the values.
So we used to refer to that as just a warm body, right? I just need a body. I need a warm body who can show up, and whether it's push carts, flip burgers, run plates of food, ring a register, we just need bodies, right? And I do think that you're right. I think that a lot of businesses have settled for less on quality in search of more quantity. And that's really scary. But, we still have a lot of people out there. My employees just keep saying, Kristin, just wait till September when they end this additional bump that the states are giving folks that are on unemployment. And then you'll see employees come. And I think, wow, I hope I can wait that long.
Oh boy, I hope so. I hope so too. And yet at the same time, it's like, as business owners, as we're trying to, I think there's two pieces to this. One is to attract people. The other is to make sure we're keeping the people that we do have.
Yep.
So it's not to forget them and say, okay, during this time, let's make sure as leaders that they know that we think they're important. We are, that there's the empathy there, right? There's the with them. It's making sure we're building the right culture. It's being flexible. And I think flexibility will be a key word over the next months to come.
Yeah. One thing that David always says, and I'm going to steal your line, David, because that's what I love to do. I have all these David lines, right? My husband goes to yoga and tells me all these yoga lines. I come off the call and say, well, guess what David said? And we had a conversation about this actually the other day. And I think it feeds nicely into what you're talking about today. And that's, when you're hiring somebody, to talk to them and treat them the way they want to be treated, not the way you think they want to be treated.
Yes.
And I think that's a really good takeaway that David shared with us last week or the week before, that so many people in leadership positions overlook.
Agree. And don't you think sometimes leaders will just keep talking at someone like, this is important, that's important, and that's important. It's based on their point of view versus stopping. And we know we need to be clear on our values and where we are, but we also have to find out where people are. It's even this crisis. People are at different stages, right? They're even different stages, how comfortable they are. So really understanding where someone is and meeting them where they are and focused on them. And if they can feel that connection and they can feel that to them and that you care. Some of those pieces are really, really those basic elements, I think, of how we treat others. We'll be able to retain some of our key employees and taking that time.
I couldn't agree with you more, especially if Ray and I have businesses where we employ different cultures, right? And so that becomes very important in that particular realm as well. And I think there's a lot of different industries out there, depending on what you're in, field-wise, what kind of folks you might get. Some have professionals, some have people with not many skills, and you're growing them. And so all of that has to be taken into consideration. You have anything else for us on some final thoughts today?
Just a couple of things. I think a lot of times, you mentioned the word skills. And I think so many times, there are a couple of different things I think that going forward for the next months to come, it's yes, we need to focus on skills, and at the same time, looking at attitude, looking at attitude first and saying, okay, let's hire for attitude. And if we can, let's train them on the skill. Because
good point.
Cultures are built one person at a time. And if you get one wrong person in there, that really just starts kind of undermining the culture you want to build.
Yes.
So that's the key thing. So
very good point.
Yeah. And then I think the second thing is the flexibility for us. I know I've had a hard time with, because it's almost like, as we started coming back in person, I'm like, okay, everybody's back. Well, that might not be the case. And so I've really kind of step back and say, okay, I've got to change how I think. And I really think as business owners, regardless, we've got to think about, can we do hybrid? Because a lot of people are saying, well, I'll come back only if I can work from home, right? Or only come back if there's some flexibility there, because now that we've seen it, I think a lot of people want it. So then how can we open our minds up to that? See how we can accommodate some people. And I think that will also help us to attract some of the right talent that we're looking for.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. And some people, quite frankly, are going to have to look based on the business they're in. If you're running an accounting firm or a marketing company, some of those tasks don't need to necessarily be done Monday through Friday, 8 to 5, right?
Right.
And
absolutely.
so that's where meeting the employee where they're at, not necessarily where you think they need to be, could certainly come in handy. So, well, thank you so much, Karen. Karen Kimsey-Sward from Dale Carnegie, Chicago. We appreciate having you on, and we look forward to seeing you again very soon.
Great. Thanks.
Alrighty, Fred.
Hey, welcome to Pillars of Franchising. I'm here with Red Boswell with IFPG again. Hey, Red.
Hey, Kristin. Great to be back. Missed you.
I know it's been a few weeks, and I saw you were out there with a man band now and doing cartwheels, and I'm like, man, the people at IFPG have so much fun.
Well, thanks. That was fun. I did a 23-day road trip with the family, and I've got 3 teenagers. One is about to leave the roost, so Dad's trying not to cry every day of my life here lately with my best friend leaving the house. But took them to that little video you saw was at a family camp we go to each year, and on one of the nights there's a talent show, and so for 5 years now I've rallied some of the cooler dads, and we do an air band. And so one year it was rap, one year it was hair metal. This year it was boy bands. And so we grabbed like 20 seconds of 5 different boy band songs, and we did our choreography and embarrassed our kids to no end.
Oh, it was hysterical. I didn't realize it was a family camp, but I would love to do that to my kids. They would just, and my one son would be like, oh gosh, it's my mom. And the other 2 would like run as fast as they can in the other direction.
Yeah, they were laughing their head off, and my wife was hiding in the corner. But I posted it on LinkedIn with the, LinkedIn's business. And so I wanted to kind of just share and inspire. Do you let down your guard? Do you get loose? Do you act like a human being around your team? And so, although it wasn't officially a conference or a business event, it's certainly something executives in any arena can do to have fun and make some cool memories and show their humanity.
Yeah. And you know what, I think that's really important. And the other nice thing that it showed is that as busy as you are, when you're in business for yourself or when you work in franchise in particular, there's a lot of flexibility in where you go and what you do. And like you said, you're able to take 23 days and take your 3 teenagers and your wife with you, like, and still work.
And still get some work done. Absolutely. In today's day and age, and we've seen this more than ever through the pandemic, we have the smartphone. And what can you do on here? Phone calls, emails, texts, private message, Zoom.
Yeah.
I mean, what can't we do?
Yeah.
And I can take, snapshots and send contracts via email. And so it really has allowed us to expand our horizons and be able to do so much more in just about every field, especially franchising.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. So congratulations to you and welcome back home now. I can tell because we have the IFPG in the background, which is amazing.
I do. In fact, this is a different background. This is a real live background. In the previous ones, I had my green screen over here on the other side of the room with a pretty not quite real background. And the reason I don't have it today, besides just mixing it up, getting fresh, is got a new laptop, and that thing is taking about 12 hours to boot up and to get some updates. And so I just couldn't use the old standard. So you get the real thing today.
Well, I'm glad you're here with us. We're going to continue our series that we have going with you about the mistakes that franchisors make. So I believe we're starting at number 14 today.
Number 14. This should be the third and last episode, at least for now. We're in my world working with about 500 franchisors. I constantly see mistakes they make, and having been one for the longest time, I made virtually every one of them anyway. But we're going to wrap it up, hopefully, this session with the last of the 3 episodes on mistakes franchisors make. And some of these, most of your audience are franchisees or franchisee prospects, but it helps them understand and watch for these mistakes. And maybe it'll bore them, and certainly the franchisors in the audience hopefully get some value. So I'll hit you with number 14. It is presenting to consultants, AKA brokers, like they are candidates. Now, the candidates in the audience aren't going to care about that. They don't even know what I'm talking about. But so often the ZORs are presenting, franchisors.
Yes.
ZORs are presenting to the consultants, because consultants and brokers and matchmakers, advisors, coaches, whatever you call ourselves, they are presenting, they're learning about brands. And when the brand is speaking to them like a candidate, there's a lot of difference there. We need to know, there's a lot of things that candidates don't need to know. And frankly, we don't need to hear, 10 minutes on how your founder came up with the idea when he was in 4th grade. So we don't need so much.
Yes, agreed. It's short, sweet, simple, right? And really your brokers, as you said, are the matchmakers, right? And we want to make sure that they have the latest and greatest, the best, the high points when they're talking about those brands, right?
Yes. And help them understand your ideal candidate. Candidates don't need to hear your ideal candidate, but the consultants certainly do.
Yeah.
Number 15, not investing into the right software, the technology to help support your system. So that could be your CRM on the franchise development side of things, the operations software, the operations manual, the software to really do that correctly. So skimping on some of the really important things that will make your life easier, help you attract better candidates, help you monitor it, save time, and ultimately make more money, and even in some cases save money. So it's an important one, and ZORs often will trip over dollars for pennies.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
yeah. Well, that's a great point, because we've recently upped our platforms and our CRMs, and it's for the franchisors too. They can look into the businesses now because it's all web-based, and we don't have to go through any manual royalty reporting processes, and everything's very nicely done right now. So great choice. Great
Absolutely.
point.
Well, you're with a great ZOR with Neighborly and with Molly Maid, so they do it right.
Yeah.
Kristin, number 16 it's another kind of broad one. It's the ZOR not enlisting the help of the franchisees. Now, starting out when you're an emerging ZOR, you kind of know it all, and the Zs know almost nothing, but about that model. But very quickly, the Zs are in the field more than the Zor ultimately. And they, a Z came up with the Big Mac and so many other great inventions in franchising. And so getting the help of those Zs with the Franchise Advisory Council, so you're listening to them and working hand in hand. We often call franchising a marriage between the Zor and the Z, the franchisor and franchisee. And if it's a marriage, there's equal respect and help amongst one another, even to the point of franchise development, getting those great, happy, well-validating franchisees structured with a process, not wasting their time, but helping them with validations of prospects. So enlisting the help of your best franchisees is.
And some of that you'll find when you're reviewing an FDD, it will outline if there's an FAC or a Franchise Advisory Council. So that's something for people who are looking, like you said, we may be talking about Zors right now, and some of our people may be prospective investors or buyers, but that's one of the things that they're going to want to look for.
Amen, for sure. Another one is a true mistake, straight up between the eyes, is selling or awarding franchises or even having a second conversation in states where you are not registered. Way back in the day, before the beard was white, I had hired a franchise development pro. He was a consultant in the traditional sense. He came very well referred, and I thought he was truly a world-class expert. Well, that guy I trusted way too much, and I let him have all the reins on our sales process and speaking with our candidates. He sold some franchises under my name in states that we weren't completely fully finished registering. Some of those states can take a few months to get registered, and he had no ill will, no selfish motive. He just was a little bit ignorant on it. Well, guess who paid for it? Six figures, my dear. Massive. Ultimately 7 figures out of the red man's pocket, because I made the mistake as a franchisor of not very closely, stringently watching where we're allowing our franchise development team to have serious conversations about buying our franchise.
Wow, that's a really, really good idea. Do you recommend franchisors do that as soon as they become a franchisor to register in all the states, or should they wait and do that as they're about to go into that particular region?
It's a Zor by Zor decision.
Tongue-tied.
Some Zors that are really regionally focused, perhaps they're relying on a supply chain like a restaurant where it's really controlled. Then no need to register in California when you're starting in Florida, and you're going to just go to the 4 states around Florida. Right. While other service brands may not be restricted so much by it, and so the registration states are important. You don't want to wait until you get a lead. I hear this often. I'm going to wait till I get a good lead in that state before I register. Well, the registration on average is going to take 3 months. Right. That good lead ain't going to be around, and you're not going to even know if it's a good lead until you've had multiple conversations, and by then you've broken the rules and you're getting to get in trouble. So,
yeah. Okay. Good point. Good. I'm glad that I asked that question, because we've got some people that I like to talk that about.
Another one, Kristin, would be this would be one of the tattoos I have if I had one. And I don't have any, unfortunately, but if I had one, this would probably be right there on my neck, looking really like, little crunk, or is it street? Anyway, it would say there's nothing more expensive than a cheap attorney.
Oh, yeah.
And then underneath it, I would have, or a cheap CPA. So invest wisely with a franchise attorney that knows franchising, right, and will guide you well through it.
Yeah, my first vision when you said cheap attorney was a guy in a leisure suit in the 70s, sitting at the bar. I played that game, Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego? No, that was a game called Leisure Suit Larry or something. I don't know, one of those games years ago.
Well, and it could be someone like, again, Red made this mistake back in the day. I have a good friend who's a wonderful attorney. He did my will.
Yeah.
Guess what? He is not a franchise attorney. Yeah. Oh, he thought he was doing me this wonderful favor, saving me all this money, helping me put that whole docs together. Wow. That was a big mistake.
But again, not in ill will, right? I mean, he was really trying to do the right thing.
And I was too. I appreciated him so much for it. It's just, ignorance on his part and my part, the importance. He's like, he's a great attorney, he's smart, he passed the bar, he can, the internet can help him with stuff he doesn't know. But man, there's nothing like someone living it all day long, breathing it, having already helped 80 other Azores through it, knowing the ins and out, knowing some of the verbiage that changes year to year. It's so critical.
Yeah, totally true. I went to my OBGYN with an earache, right? Should have known better. True story. 6 years down the road, everybody said, oh, it's a sinus infection. Oh, I had a tumor. Well, my husband said, why are you having the gynecologist take a look at your ear? That's the wrong end of your body. That's like getting the cheap attorney, right? A family attorney to do a franchisor agreement just doesn't make any sense.
No,
So
that's such a good analogy. Oh my gosh.
well,
I'll never
it's a little
forget
over
that.
the top.
I'll never forget that analogy. Okay. Number 19, unnecessarily giving away equity, or perhaps not. Again, this is very Zor to Zor specific. What's your budget look like? Your budget of time, your budget of money, your aspirations, your opportunity, reviewing it all. And why I bring this up, I've had numerous Zors give away equity, and it was a mistake because they gave it to maybe a franchise development rep or an FSO, a franchise sales organization, and they structured it incorrectly where it wasn't earned, it was just immediately given. And so those can be a complicated process and a very important decision, again, of who you're going into bed with for the next decade or two, who you're going to have to listen to and partner with and share profits with and argue with. Man, don't take that decision lightly.
Yeah. Very good. Very good. Thank you for that.
Rolling out the last two for you, at least for now. Number 20, pay for the best. They are worth it. Now, I touched on this in hiring CFEs earlier in episode 2, I believe. Pay for the best. I hired way back in the day, again, when I was a Zor, I actually paid my technicians in the field. Kind of think your maids in your franchise. I paid my technicians in the field more than I paid my controller in-house. Now, guess what? I had the worst controller in the history of franchising. Cost me another 6 or 7 figures of stupidity on Red's part by getting cheap on the things that matter so much.
Yeah, I'm scratching my head because I wish I had 6 or 7 figures twice to have taken away. Like, I don't even know how I could afford to have 6 or 7 figures lost, but it's amazing to me. But the lessons you learned are priceless, right?
Priceless is a good word for it. Yeah. Yes, ma'am. Yeah, thank you for that reminder. Okay, last one for this week is not properly managing the validation process. So many Zors just throw the Z to the wolves, not meaning to call the current Zs wolves, but it's you can have wonderful Zs that are making a lot of money and are validating well, but helping the Z candidate who's going through that process, helping them. You're not, now it's illegal, FYI guys, it's illegal for a franchise to steer you or tell you can only speak with these franchisees. They can't say that, they can't do that. Right. You've got a whole list of franchisees in the FTD, but it's a balancing act. That candidate doesn't need to speak with any Z until the time, okay, till the process has gone through. They're 2/3 of the way, perhaps, through the process. Then speak to all the Zs you want. But the Zor should be helping you with that, meaning the Zor should, I've had so many candidates in the past will go to a franchisee with the purest of intentions. Hey, how much you making? That's an important question, right? How much they making? And the Z, with the purest of heart and soul, will tell them, and maybe it's a low number. And now all of a sudden, that Z candidate's turned off. They're bailing on the process when they didn't ask how long you've been at it.
That's right.
Did you follow the process at all? Are you full-time or part-time? How much have you actually invested time and money into marketing and growing the process? So there's some very critical questions. The rest of the story is, to Paul Harvey would say, ask the question properly and you will get the answer that you're looking for, ask it incorrectly, you're going to get half an answer that could totally ruin your process, make you go to a franchise that's not ideal for you. So the Zor should be helping you with those questions, giving you some questions. There's nothing wrong with that. They can give you proper questions to ask. You can ask anything you want, but give you the thorough questions, and even ask, who do you want to, what type of person do you want to speak? Do you want to speak to newer Zs? Do you want to speak to Zs in this East Coast, or female Zs, or Zs with an engineering background? So they can help you with that. So the Zor should be helping with validation.
I think that is a great point. And do you recommend, I know when we validated, I had my business plan pretty much ready to go. And so one of my questions was, I know you can't tell me exactly, you know, but can you look at it and tell me, is there any area that I'm way off? Right? Is there an assumption that I put in that I'm completely wrong on? Right?
So yes, on that last question, absolutely. So guys, if you're a franchise candidate and you're putting that business plan together, that Zor cannot help you with the numbers of the business plan unless those numbers are in their item 19 of their FDD. Then they've got full authority to be able to help with those specific areas. Well, in your business plan and the complex numbers that you're putting together, odds are there's a good bit that's not in that item 19. And so that Zor can look at it. And man, they have to be careful. A lot of them just won't even look at it. Like when Zor is like, hey, I actually provided a template with blank numbers, but it included the formulas that were approved by my attorney. So they were formulas to help the Z build a better spreadsheet, aka business plan, to predict things. But I told them, once I give you this blank with formulas business spreadsheet, do not send it back to me. I will not open it. I will not review it, because I can get in a lot of trouble for that.
That's right.
But guess what? The franchisees that you're validating with, they can give you more insights. They have no financial interest in you coming on board or not. So you want to be careful not to ask them for too much of their time. They got a business to run. But if you got a high level that they can just look at a quick snapshot of, they could be a real help to you.
Well, that's awesome. I think we've touched on points, not only good advice for our current Zors, our people who want to become Zors, and people who are out there looking to become franchisees today. So I thank you again for your time. And I do look forward to what other shenanigans you get into in the next week.
Thank you so much, Kristin. And we're excited about our big event in Chicago. I hear you and Fred might be able to invade that and just cause some havoc amongst we'll have probably 60-80 folks there between Zors and consultants. We limit the number, but it's going to be an exciting regional event, and excited to have you guys participate in it. It's a month and a half away, but I'm already looking forward to it.
Hey, you know what? Time flies when you're having fun. So for you, it'll feel like next week.
Yes, we're down deep in the weeds. 100 days away is our big annual retreat in Hollywood, Florida. We'll have hundreds of consultants, hundreds of Zors, a bunch of great vendors. That'll be a blast too. And we are all over it. I can't believe it's less than 100 days now.
Well, I'm going to look for my save the date card.
Come on in. The more the merrier. It'll be a blast.
Quite honestly, Florida sounds so much better than Chicago. Not that I don't love Chicago, but I mean, come on. In the fall, as it gets cooler here, to go where it's warmer, until next week, Fred, sorry. I feel like I'm Dr. Seuss, Fred and Red, and you know what I'm saying? I'm not going to go any further. I get myself in trouble with my rhymes.
Dr. Kristin, well, excited to be on see you in an episode in a week or two or three, as usual. Love being a part of your awesome Pillars of Franchising.
Awesome. We love having.
And we're back.
Hi, David.
Hello.
Red and Fred, seriously?
Okay, well, the problem is if you have 3 kids like me and you read them 5 books a night from the time they're like 5 months old, I could probably start reciting Dr. Seuss books. Now, unfortunately, the next line of that book would be like Red and Fred and bed, right? And so I didn't want to say that because then I thought he would really turn red. Yeah, I should have said it, but I said it now. Anyway, David, you feel my pain, right?
That's right. That's right. So, as I always do, enjoy all the guests before I come on. I don't know if anybody, while they were listening, had a chance to look at the menu of Biscuit Belly. It was,
Oh my gosh.
it was incredible. So there's so much stuff on there, and they've done a great job just with the pictures and everything. I mean, it looks mouth-watering. So
I think it's
really,
like a 1 pound biscuit goes in, and then my pant size goes up like twofold,
question.
right?
No
It's like
question.
the scale poundage goes up by 3 with 1 pound biscuit. That's what would happen to me, but it does sound delicious.
I am going to on our trips down to Florida, we are going to make a detour and go visit Biscuit Belly. That's for sure, because that menu is very intriguing. Looked delicious.
Yes, it did.
And Karen, her and I could probably talk for hours and hours and hours about leadership and people and all that stuff. So she was fantastic. That was great information. So what I want to talk about kind of dovetails to all that stuff that we talked about in the past, and kind of what even Karen was touching on, and a little bit of what Lauren is trying to accomplish. And what I wanted to talk about is brand standards and expectations.
Awesome.
And I think, as potential franchisees out there, we all want to get into our own business, right? We're going to go work for ourselves. The tsunami that Karen talked about, leaving the corporate world. They're all going to get in their own business. But when you join a franchise, you have to uphold the brand standards that they set out. And you have to do that for a bunch of reasons. One, it's the brand image. And two, it's a responsibility to the other franchisees.
Absolutely. And that's what makes, when you buy a franchise, so valuable, right? Because people already have that brand familiarity. Hopefully it's already sticky. People know of it.
Yeah, well, they do if it's established. In Lauren's situation,
good point.
And she mentioned she has to be very picky, I think it was the person from Papa John's that told her, make sure you're really picky on who you get in, because well, you get the wrong person in there that is going to do their own thing. The rogue franchisee is your first franchisee.
Yeah.
You may never get off the ground.
Isn't that the truth?
It's the truth. And I mean, as she was talking about the restaurant industry, which, that's my biggest part of my background.
Yep.
I mean, there are so many things that she was hitting on that just brought back memories. And one of the things that that really you have to understand as a franchisee is, while you have brand standards and there's brand expectations, truthfully, the customers are the ones that set the expectations. That they or the guests set the expectations. And the way I used to explain this to everybody is, the guests are going to set the expectations, not necessarily you, and not necessarily your staff. So I used to challenge everybody to raise their level of what can we do better, because if in the restaurant business, I guess I'll back up a little bit. If somebody comes in and did not have a great experience, we all know this, they go and tell somebody, or 10 people or 100 people, you never even get the opportunity to impact positively somebody else.
That's right.
They may never come in because of that.
Yeah.
Right. And what I used to do, since we had servers, what I used to try to impress upon them is if we had a phenomenal server, then the other servers owed it to everybody to be as good as that server. Because if I came in and I had a great server, and then I came in and had a different server who didn't care about me as much, now my experience is totally different.
Yeah. And did you find that in your business, David, when you got, like for us, we get really good Google reviews. And did you find that in your business, you would share those really great reviews or that great feedback with your staff so that you could create that kind of situation in which all people wanted to copy that good employee? Yeah,
absolutely. We did that. And we also, we did a lot of our own mystery shops. So as those came through and those came up, and then obviously our guest comments, whenever they would rate us and do the guest comments, we posted all those. So it was a big focus, because the challenge was we tried to impress upon our managers and everybody else. And I think this holds true, not just in restaurants, but everybody. You challenge your managers, you challenge your employees, and make them understand that their effort affects everyone.
Yes.
It affects everyone in the business, from the CEO down to the I don't know, the parking lot sweeper. It doesn't really matter. It affects everybody, including the customer, the guest.
Yep.
So
absolutely.
that effort, and so I used to tell everybody, I says the challenge is to get in the mindset to 10x what you think is good service.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to tell them, because what you think is good isn't, right? And they said, what do you mean? What is it? And it's just a challenge question. And I, try to say, and I go, okay, how can we get there? How can we 10x it? What do we need to make X happen, right? How are we going to make X happen? How will we know when X is done? On a scale of 1 to 10, what's your commitment level to reaching that pinnacle, right? That high expectation level. So those are things that as a franchisee, you have to be thinking about when you're developing your staff and you're opening up your business. And it's great questions to ask yourself, because you're the leader, right? So they're not going to do anything that you don't do. Go on.
Yeah, and I think you did a really good job, because when you shared with us some of the interview questions and specific things that you would ask your employees about what motivates them, kind of what drives them, things that are most people in an interview for a restaurant wouldn't ask, right? And you drew that out of your applicants right away, so you could tell which ones were the type of people that were going to be successful and which ones weren't. And I thought that was very interesting, some of the things you were able to come up with outside of really the franchise model to help you build a staff that would work for you the way you wanted that to go.
I appreciate it, because it truly is. I think it was Karen that said this, and that's why it struck chord, or maybe it was Lauren, I'm not sure, but we truly would impress upon everybody. Hire the personality, hire the attitude, hire the heart, is what I used to say. You can always train skill.
Yes, and I think that's a great point.
But get that, if you can, especially in the hospitality industry, hire the heart. If they've got the heart to serve and help people, you teach them how to take an order. You teach them the menu. And,
That's awesome. David, thank you again so much. We always appreciate listening to your tips and tricks of the trade. In this episode, we called it Food for Thought, since you're talking about biscuits in the belly. Yeah. And so we'll look forward to catching up with you again next week. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Hi, Jerry.
Greetings, Kristin. How are you today?
I'm doing well. And yourself?
Doing lovely, thank you. It's so fun to be on here with you guys. I love listening to everybody. Karen had some amazing tidbits in there, and Red had some cool stuff, and the infamous David always brings his A game to these things. So
he does.
I'm pulling up the anchor position, but I have no idea why. I feel like I'm the lightweight of the group today.
Oh, not at all. Not at all. Especially, you know why you're not. You're actually a perfect bookend to our interview with Biscuit Belly, right? Because Biscuit Belly is looking for more area developer type positions. I shouldn't say type positions. I should say she's looking for multi-unit owners. And a lot of the companies that they're doing business with and that are buying their brands are these big conglomerates that already own multiple multi-unit QSR brands. So not so much with what you're talking about today. I think you're going to be a really nice bookend for that.
I think it's great. I love their model, but there's a lot of models out there that work really well in the franchising industry. So, in my position, and since I own multiple brands, I actually have 2 or 3 positions that I'm responsible for. So whether we're talking about being a multi-unit franchisee in one brand or a regional developer and a franchisee in another brand, there are similar skill sets, but there's also some different responsibilities where additional skill sets come into play.
Yeah, absolutely. Can you tell us a little bit about the differences in those different roles that you play based on the different positions you hold?
Well, when you're a franchisee, you're basically following the playbook that the franchisor gives you. They've built a system that you buy into, and really, in my opinion, a lot of the most well-run franchise units are units run by a franchisee who follows the system that's been developed over many years. The ones that tend to go off the reservation sometimes struggle. So I really appreciate people following the system. When you're a regional developer, you are a part of the system. So part of your job is to implement and train with franchisees once you have helped choose the franchisees that you're going to be responsible for. And then you mentor them as you continue to move forward to help them, grow their organization, whether it's one unit or multiple units. But in addition, you are a corporate representative at some level, and you have to make sure they follow the system, that they're hitting their numbers, that they're following everything the way that it's laid out, that they're a good corporate player in that field. Mm-hmm. And if you fail at doing that, then you actually are training another generation of franchisees to do it the wrong way, which will very likely lead to their failure. So there's a little heavier load when you're a regional developer, if you want to do it the right way, in my opinion.
Do you think that somebody just coming out of, say, corporate America and looking at going into something like this, do you think an area developer is the right place for them to go? Or do you think we're looking at a single unit, multi-unit setup? What would you recommend to people like that?
This is opinion at this point in time. I believe they should be a franchisee before they go into the regional developer mode. Mm-hmm. Because if you haven't lived the franchisee life, it's very difficult to understand what they are facing. Yes. For instance, in my regional developer role, I have really all control over which franchisees get chosen. If I've got multiple people looking for a territory or a license, mm-hmm. I can basically interview them and decide which one I think will fit the role best. Okay. And in that case, I want to pick somebody that I feel maybe has some corporate experience or some other franchise experience or business ownership or something that, will give them a better chance of success. But I also want somebody that's willing to follow the system. I'd love to find somebody that's willing to, learn from me and take a little advice from me, even though it's their business, at least listen to a seasoned veteran to see what my thoughts are on it. And if, in my experience as a short time being an RD, if you find somebody that is not willing to do those types of things, probably the relationship between you two is not going to go well in the future. It's going to be an ongoing struggle and very likely will lead to some failure somewhere along the way, probably on the franchisee side. Sure. Very likely as a regional developer, I may be put in a situation where I have to help pull the license from a franchisee because they're not following the system. And if I can look in the rearview mirror and some of that is my responsibility, that's a heavy load to carry.
Sure. So let's talk about, you've got all these corporate executives and maybe not C-level people necessarily, but just people out of the corporate world coming out, and everybody's going to have different skill sets. So now we're looking at maybe not regional developer right away, but we're looking at single unit versus multi-unit. What do you think about that?
Well, that's a little tougher decision. If you've got somebody with good business experience and they, go through the whole process with a franchisee where they do discovery day and they go through the validation process. I mean, I think there's some signals that come out of that to a franchisor that might lead them to say, this is a great person to take on, a multi-unit type role. Many cases, the franchisor will put the multi-unit opportunity into a phased development type process. So in other words, you may develop 1 this year and 2 next year and 3 the year after that or something. So you can kind of learn your way through that path before you dive in and open 3 or 4 all at the same time and maybe have all of them be less successful than you want. So I really like it when they take it slowly with those new people that have not run a franchise before. Frankly, in my experience, I've seen people that have failed simply because they grew too fast without the proper experience as a franchisee, not as a corporate, mentor or something like that, but somebody that's actually worked in the business.
Yeah, I could see that too. And I have seen some franchise models that do say, 3 to 5 units within 6 or 8 years. And, geez, take a time like COVID and you're opening a business right before COVID hits or during a pandemic. How do you expect people to do that? It just doesn't seem realistic.
And if you buy this in that kind of a format, then you as the franchisee have a little control over how fast you grow. So for instance, our development plan when we first got into Great Clips, I don't remember it, I can't quote it specifically, but it was very similar. It was like build 1 the first year and 1 the second year and 2 the third year, and over 10 years, you're going to build 17 or something like that. Mm-hmm. Well, because of the past experience my wife and I had, and our financial wherewithal, and then the aggressive nature of me, we grew much faster. We actually finalized our development plan in about 4 years versus 10. But that first year or two, we had a lot of time working in the stores and really learning the ins and outs of it, so that we could ensure that every store worked exactly that way. And I'm betting David went through some of that same process as he was growing. So I think that's very similar for successful people in the franchise world.
Okay, good. And I certainly think that a single unit franchise is a great place really for anybody to start. And once his or her franchise is hitting all the marks, there's always opportunity for expansion. There's an opportunity for, a different franchise license, I was talking to somebody about buying a business that sits on top of Molly Maid that's a complementary service to what we do in house cleaning. And so there's a lot of opportunities out there. I hate for people to think that, I'm leaving this big corporate job and I'm going to go open just one franchise. Well, you got to walk before you run, and that's a great place to learn. And then guess what? The world is wide open to you.
Well, that's true, Kristin. And as you build your first franchise location and you develop staff, this gets into David's bailiwick. You develop staff and you build your next one within a reasonable proximity, it's very likely one or two of the staff that you developed in your first location will help open the second location and train that group. And it just continues to grow from there, almost on like an amoeba type situation. Mm-hmm. And I've found that in our world, that's very, very successful. And I'll be honest, I would not have taken on a regional developer's role had I not had the experience that I had in the, boots on the ground part of franchising, because it put me in a situation where now I can bring somebody from corporate America in as a franchisee who knows nothing about the franchise world and actually be a true mentor to them as they go through each and every step, including helping read an LOI and helping make sure they find the right attorney and accountant and helping them go through all of that process. So it's not just them alone. And if you don't have somebody like that and you're a single practitioner or single franchisee, sometimes you can make some bad decisions, as we've already discussed. Yep. Sometimes you can get yourself into a real jam. In this case, I've got their corporate background and their desire to grow, and I can layer that on with what I've seen, both good and bad things I've gone through in the franchise world, to help guide them to some good decisions, as well as keep them from stepping into some really bad situations.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, I think it's really important for people to know that as you're getting ready to leave corporate world, instead of going out and trying to slay the dragon on your own, franchising is certainly a great opportunity. Great options out there. And certainly here at Pillars of Franchising, I feel like we have a great team for people to turn to ask questions just like this.
Well, absolutely. And Kristin, one last thought here. We are in a very unique time in history right now because of the pandemic and the staffing situations that are going on in the world and all of that. So what we're seeing across the entire franchise system, every one of them, there are some long-term experienced franchisees that were going to retire in 5 to 10 years that are now saying, listen, I got an opportunity. If I get an opportunity to sell this now, I'll get out and retire because I've made a lot of money. I've invested in other things. I'm happy and comfortable, and I don't need to do this anymore. And what that means is if you've got somebody coming from corporate America that has helped run larger organizations, they may have the opportunity to buy a multi-unit franchise already that may have a great general manager and infrastructure already built. They just need the financial wherewithal and a true business leader to help them continue that process. So if I were advising anybody coming from corporate America, I would advise them to look for those opportunities, because right now, over the next year or so, I think there's going to be more than there ever has been in history, and it'll be a very unique opportunity for them to get in on a very high level that they could never do historically.
That's awesome. And then I didn't even have to ask you the question, because this has all been about how, and yes, it is exactly the right time to buy a franchise, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. We've talked many times about everything that's going on with, the pandemic and then the government programs and now staffing. When you're a single practitioner in a non-franchise situation, you've opened your own shop, hallelujah, you've done a phenomenal job. But the fact is, in most cases, you're a single soldier out there fighting a battle by yourself. When you get into a franchise system, you've got you got the franchisor that guides you and supports you and helps you, but you've also got a lot of brothers and sisters that are franchisees that are fighting the same battles and maybe can keep you from making a mistake or guide you through that. So
absolutely,
maybe this is the best time in history to buy a franchise, just for all of the extra things that are going with it that you don't get anywhere else.
I couldn't agree more. I could not agree more. Thank you so much, Jerry. We always appreciate your contributions to the show. But now I think Fred, or as I call him, Oz, is going to take us down the rabbit hole.
And down we go. But before we start on the rabbit hole question, Jerry, be aggressive? Really?
You don't see it in me, Fred, right?
No, never see that in you. Nah.
I wouldn't call it aggressive. I think he's tenacious. I think he's a man who knows what he wants and he goes and gets it. That's what I think.
I mentioned that opportunity to buy multiple units, and right now I'm being approached almost daily to buy multiple units from different people, and corporate is going, wait, stop, take a breath, let's not do too many all at once. So yes,
well,
Fred, I'm sorry.
They must hear that coin jingling in your pocket as you walk down the street. Pennies on the dollar.
Yeah, it's a story of my life.
All right. So, folks, I thought about last week, or maybe it was this week, I forget. Time passes slowly in the rabbit hole. There was the Department of Defense final report on alien space visitors, and I was really aiming at that one because we've done zombies the last couple of weeks. But listening to everybody talk about finding the right person and making sure that they've got the right qualities really stuck me into the matrix. Okay? Because I started thinking about in future, not only will you be hiring people, I'm betting you'll be hiring fewer people because most of them are going to stay at home and watch TV. But
eat bonbons.
Yeah, you're also going to have to hire artificial intelligences. So, what criteria would you use to hire an artificial intelligence? What characteristics of the artificial intelligence would you want to make them part of your team?
Oh, yes, that's a good one.
Who wants to go first? Ray?
Well, I was thinking, I think I am an alien from outer space. So
that I know. I've known that for years.
Yeah, I would just use my intelligence from the outer planets on hiring, AI. It would be, no problem at all.
You really are on vacation, aren't you? Oh, well, you punted. All right, who wants to be the next person?
Fred.
Go for it, Jerry.
I just say, you are a very unique human being, my friend, and these conversations get me just really considering you. And so we'll have another conversation offline about this sometimes, but zombies and artificial intelligence, things like that. My understanding about AI is that can be programmed in any way, shape, or form that you want. So my goal would be to program it exactly to follow the system in the franchise that I built, to be very customer-centric and staff-centric, so that it was always thinking like a human being when it came to those things, so that they were still feeling the warm and fuzzies and the love and all that kind of stuff. And I would make it many multiples smarter than me, because that's what it's going to take to continue to be successful in the future.
Okay, so
that's a good one.
I get making it many factors smarter than you. That means it's probably approaching your level of your wife.
Oh, shout out to Mickey.
Shout out to Mickey.
That's been fun. I'll see you all later.
But if you're going to program it to be human, and most of the problems react human-like, and most of the problems are caused by stupid humans, never mind. So, who's jumping on the question next?
Well, I can jump on Jerry's back and say that my answer is very similar, because I think the operative word is intelligence, right? So when you say artificial intelligence, I immediately think of, is it really intelligent? I mean, I don't know that it is. It's artificially intelligent, right? So based on what we input, So I would hope I get one with some intelligence.
Artificial intelligence is no match for natural stupidity.
Yeah, but
Right.
I'll jump on it and say
Go,
I
Karen.
like the intelligence piece, the IQ piece, and then I'm going to say it's the EQ too.
Yeah.
Both of those, right? Because sometimes when you think of artificial intelligence, it's like smart, 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 and we all know there is an IQ and there's an EQ piece.
Yeah, because you can be really a smart something else, and that's so
That's-
nice.
Are you
Exactly.
saying a smart Richard?
The other side of Richard.
I still like that T-shirt. David.
Yes,
You're
no,
the
this has
laugh-
all been covered, but I like the EQ piece. It's great. It would be great to have. How do I want to say this? It'd be great to know exactly what you're going to get out of people from an emotional standpoint and not offend somebody so easily. So I'm all in on the EQ piece.
Maybe
Wait a
you can hit a button that says, I like warm and fuzzy. I
There you go.
like to the point. You know, you just pick, how do you want your feedback?
How do you want your? That's right. Because unbeknownst to me, there's a new phenomenon, I guess not new anymore, for maybe the last 5-10 years, that when you corrected somebody, even if you're just going, hey, by the way, here's a good way to do this, you actually were yelling at them, which I wasn't aware of. So now I had to learn that.
I can't
I'm all
imagine.
in on the EQ piece.
I can't imagine you yelling at anybody.
But
What's that?
but if you're gonna make it harder to annoy people, that's just gonna cause me more work. Never mind. So, folks, want to thank
Is that
our
a
microaggression. No, I go
Aggression?
for macroaggressions. Sorry,
Yeah.
if it's micro, I ain't doing my job.
Oh my gosh.
And that
Well-
said, folks, we'll be back next week with another
Happy 4th. Happy 4th of
Happy 4th.
July.
Yes, sorry,
Yeah.
my bad. Don't get hit by fireworks, and we'll be back with for another episode next week of